Hey, car enthusiasts! The 1970s were a wild decade for the automotive industry. Between rising gas prices, new safety regulations, and emissions controls, some cars just didn't make the grade. While a few iconic cars emerged from the era, others fell flat, way flat. Today we're looking at three of the dumbest and worst cars that rolled off American production lines in the 1970s. Buckle up, because these cars are going to make you wonder, what were they thinking? The Chevrolet Vega was introduced by General Motors in 1970 as a response to the rising demand for small, fuel-efficient cars, spurred by increasing gas prices and competition from foreign manufacturers like Volkswagen and Toyota. Designed to be lightweight, economical, and stylish, the Vega was initially seen as a promising entry into the compact car market. Its sleek, modern design and smooth handling earned it early praise, positioning it as GM's potential answer to the compact car challenge. However, beneath this promising exterior, the Vega was plagued by a host of serious engineering flaws that would soon tarnish its reputation and make it one of the most infamous failures in automotive history. One of the most significant issues with the Chevrolet Vega was its aluminum engine. GM engineers opted for an all-aluminum engine block to reduce weight and improve fuel efficiency, which seemed like a forward-thinking approach. Unfortunately, the execution of this design was deeply flawed. Unlike traditional aluminum engines that used iron liners for durability, the Vega's engine was produced without these liners to save costs, relying instead on a new silicon alloy process. This decision proved to be catastrophic. The engine was prone to overheating, especially in warmer climates or under heavy use, because the cooling system was inadequate for the engine's demands. Overheating caused the aluminum engine block to warp, leading to oil leaks, loss of compression, and eventually catastrophic engine failure. Many owners reported that their Vegas developed serious engine problems within the first few thousand miles. The cost of repairing or replacing the engine was often prohibitively high, leaving many buyers with a sense of buyer's remorse. What was intended to be a selling point, the lightweight, innovative engine, became the car's Achilles heel and contributed significantly to its downfall. Another critical flaw of the Vega was its tendency to rust. Rust became a well-known and widespread problem for Vega owners, often appearing shockingly early in the car's life. The use of cheap materials and cost-cutting measures in the manufacturing process meant that the car's body panels were particularly vulnerable to corrosion. Owners in colder climates, where roads were salted during the winter months, reported that rust would begin to eat away at the Vega's body after only a few years of driving. The fenders, door panels, and undercarriage were especially prone to rusting, sometimes within a year or two of ownership. Part of the reason for the rapid corrosion was GM's decision to ship Vega body panels from the Lordstown assembly plant in Ohio to another plant in Detroit for painting. The bare steel panels were often left exposed to the elements during transport, leading to premature oxidation before they were even assembled. Once rust set in, it was difficult to stop, and many Vegas ended up looking far older and more worn out than they actually were. The rapid rusting combined with the mechanical issues meant that even buyers who initially enjoyed the car's performance soon found themselves dealing with a wide range of costly problems. The Vega's early success quickly turned into a public relations disaster for General Motors. By the mid-1970s, it was clear that the car's reputation had been severely damaged. What started as a promising, sleek, and affordable car had become a symbol of GM's declining quality control during the decade. The company faced a wave of complaints and lawsuits from frustrated owners who felt betrayed by the car's poor durability and frequent mechanical failures. GM attempted to address some of the issues with mid-production fixes, such as improving the engine design and adding rust protection. But by then, the damage to the Vega's reputation was irreversible. The car's rapid decline in reliability and quality also had broader implications for GM's reputation as a whole. During the 1970s, GM was already facing increasing competition from Japanese automakers like Honda and Toyota, whose vehicles were praised for their reliability and efficiency. In contrast, the Vega became an example of American manufacturers prioritizing cost-cutting over quality. It was a turning point in the auto industry, with many consumers beginning to lose faith in the once dominant American manufacturers and turning toward foreign competitors. The AMC Gremlin, introduced in 1970, holds a unique and quirky place in American automotive history. Marketed as the nation's first subcompact car, the Gremlin was AMC's attempt to meet the rising demand for smaller, more economical vehicles. The 1970s saw a surge in competition from foreign imports like the Volkswagen Beetle, Toyota Corolla, and Datsun models, all of which were gaining popularity in the US due to their compact size, fuel efficiency, and reliability. AMC sought to tap into this growing market with the Gremlin, a car that promised to be affordable, practical, and distinctly American. Unfortunately, while the Gremlin succeeded in standing out, it did so for all the wrong reasons. Its peculiar design, questionable build quality, and mechanical shortcomings made it a car that's more often remembered as an oddity than a success. One of the Gremlin's most defining features, and arguably its biggest flaw, was its unusual and unbalanced design. The car's awkward, truncated rear end gave the impression that it had been hastily chopped in half, earning it a reputation for looking incomplete. The abrupt end to the body, combined with the car's otherwise compact dimensions, made it visually odd, even by the standards of the experimental designs of the 1970s. The front of the car was more conventional, with a long hood and a relatively upright grille, but the sharp cutoff at the back made it look as though the design team had run out of ideas or metal. This design choice wasn't purely aesthetic, however. It was a result of cost-cutting and time constraints. AMC needed to create a subcompact quickly and cheaply to compete with imports, and the Gremlin was essentially a shortened version of the AMC Hornet, one of their other models. By slicing off the rear portion of the car and using many of the Hornet's components, AMC saved on production costs. The result was a car that was significantly smaller than most American offerings, but one that also looked disproportionately awkward. While the Gremlin's unconventional styling did attract some attention, it wasn't exactly the type of attention that automotive designers hoped for. In terms of performance, the Gremlin didn't fare much better. Its base engine was a 2.0-liter, four-cylinder unit sourced from BMW, which might sound impressive on paper, but in reality, it was underpowered for the car's weight and size. The engine struggled to provide the necessary acceleration and power, making the Gremlin feel sluggish, especially when compared to the more nimble and responsive foreign subcompacts of the era. Many buyers opted for the larger six-cylinder engine, which offered more power but compromised fuel efficiency. A major selling point for subcompact cars during the fuel-conscious 1970s. The Gremlin's performance issues weren't limited to its engines. The car quickly developed a reputation for being unreliable, with frequent mechanical issues reported by owners. Problems ranged from faulty electrical systems to poor quality control during manufacturing, leading to breakdowns and expensive repairs. The suspension, handling, and overall driving experience were also criticized for being subpar, especially when compared to the foreign competition that AMC was trying to beat. This lack of reliability further tarnished the Gremlin's reputation, making it a frustrating ownership experience for many. One of the more surprising aspects of the Gremlin's legacy, however, is that despite its flaws, it did develop a modest following. Some buyers were drawn to its quirky appearance and appreciated the fact that it was a small, fuel-efficient car produced by an American manufacturer at a time when most compact cars were being imported. In addition, the Gremlin was relatively affordable, making it a popular choice for young buyers or families on a tight budget. AMC also tried to inject some fun into the Gremlin's image, with marketing campaigns that embraced its unconventional design and positioned it as a bold, distinctive choice. However, this quirkiness only carried the car so far. While it had its fans, the Gremlin's overall reception was more negative than positive. Beyond its mechanical and design issues, the Gremlin also suffered from being a product of its time. The 1970s were a tumultuous decade for the American auto industry, with increasing competition from imports, the 1973 oil crisis, and stricter emissions and safety regulations, all putting pressure on manufacturers. In many ways, the Gremlin was AMC's attempt to keep up with these rapid changes. But it was ultimately a compromise, a car that was built quickly and cheaply to meet market demand, rather than a vehicle that was carefully engineered to excel. This rushed development process showed in the car's numerous flaws, from its awkward styling to its lackluster performance. The Ford Pinto, introduced in 1971, was initially positioned as a practical and economical solution for American drivers facing rising gas prices and an increasing demand for smaller cars. It seemed like a smart move for budget-conscious consumers, offering a compact design, affordability, and decent fuel efficiency, all of which were highly appealing during the oil crisis of the 1970s. In a market dominated by larger, gas-guzzling vehicles, the Pinto appeared to be the right car at the right time. However, beneath its seemingly pragmatic exterior, the Pinto harbored a fatal flaw that would ultimately overshadow its early success and turn it into one of the most infamous cars in automotive history. At the heart of the Ford Pinto's downfall was the design and placement of its fuel tank. In an effort to save space and keep the car as compact as possible, Ford engineers positioned the fuel tank between the rear axle and the back bumper, leaving it dangerously exposed. This meant that in the event of a rear-end collision, especially at speeds as low as 20 to 30 miles per hour, the gas tank was vulnerable to being punctured or crushed. Even worse, the positioning of nearby bolts and other sharp objects increased the likelihood that the fuel tank would rupture, leading to a catastrophic situation where gasoline could leak, ignite, and cause a fire or explosion. This design flaw, which would later become the defining issue of the Pinto's legacy, might have been forgivable if Ford had acted quickly to address it. However, what truly cemented the Pinto's place in automotive infamy was the company's decision to prioritize profits over safety. Internal documents that later surfaced during lawsuits revealed that Ford had known about the risks associated with the Pinto's fuel tank as early as 1971, shortly after the car's release. Engineers had identified the problem, and potential fixes were available. One proposed solution involved installing a plastic baffle to protect the gas tank from punctures or repositioning it away from the rear bumper. However, Ford executives made the cold calculation that it would be cheaper to deal with lawsuits resulting from potential accidents than to recall the Pinto and implement the necessary changes. A cost-benefit analysis, later referred to as the Ford Pinto Memo, calculated that the cost of fixing the problem was around $11 per car, while the potential legal costs from settling accident-related lawsuits were projected to be lower than the total cost of recalling and repairing all the Pintos sold. This stunning decision became a symbol of corporate negligence and callousness, where human lives were weighed against the company's bottom line. Tragically, the flawed design of the Pinto's fuel tank resulted in numerous accidents, where the car's occupants were severely burned or killed in rear-end collisions. One of the most notorious cases involved a Pinto that was struck from behind, causing the car to burst into flames and killing the passengers inside. As lawsuits mounted and more victims came forward with their harrowing stories, the Pinto became a lightning rod for public outrage. The legal battles that followed exposed Ford's knowledge of the fuel tank issue and its decision to delay fixing it, which only further fueled the Pinto's negative reputation. The Pinto's safety scandal also had wider implications beyond just the car itself. It triggered a national debate about automotive safety standards and corporate responsibility. In response to the outcry, Congress and regulatory bodies began taking a closer look at the safety of American-made cars, leading to stricter safety regulations and a heightened focus on consumer protection. The Pinto case became a textbook example of how corporate decisions can backfire when safety is sacrificed for profit, and it remains a cautionary tale for businesses today. Despite the scandal, the Ford Pinto continued to sell relatively well during the early 1970s, largely because many buyers were unaware of the fuel tank issue. The car's low price point, decent fuel economy, and compact size made it appealing to consumers who needed a small, affordable car during a time of economic hardship. Over its production run, Ford sold over 3 million Pintos, a testament to the car's initial popularity. However, as news of the fuel tank defect spread and high-profile lawsuits made headlines, the Pinto's sales began to decline. By the late 1970s, the car's reputation was in tatters, and Ford finally issued a recall in 1978, years after the issue had been identified. And there you have it, 3 of the dumbest and worst cars in America from the 1970s. These cars may have been designed with good intentions, but they ended up being remembered for all the wrong reasons. Which one do you think is the worst? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking car stories.